Hey guys, good evening. So let's get started. So today we'll be talking about trend line or trend lines. Right, that's what we're talking about today. So let's see how far we can cover before the time elapses. We just have like 40 minutes and then you end the class. So now we'll be talking much. I think this is the final this thing. I think this will be like the final class for like the basis of what you need to learn, the basis of forex trading. Right, I think this should be the final class. Or maybe after this one, the next one we're talking about, we're going to do a revision of the entire course, the entire classes we have done. We're going to do a revision. There are some things I'm going to show you, and I'm also going to show you how to trade using everything I've taught you, right? And so after all of that, then I'm also going to teach the main strategy, right? The strategy I use to place my trade. So today we're talking about trend lines. Now, the first question here is what is a trend, right? That's the first question here. What is a trend? Um, so let me just type that here. So today we're talking about trend lines. I will not waste much time here, right? So today we're talking about trend lines. And I say the first thing is what is a trend, right? So let's say what is a trend. Now, a trend, oh, let me put this in small little. I think the size should be okay. So trend is the behavior, sorry, what am I typing? Trend is the behavior of price over time. Right? So this is what trend is, right? The behavior of price over time. But we're not really talking about trend, but I'm just giving you the idea phase of what in case you hear anything like trend. So when I'm talking about trend line, meaning that I'm drawing line based on the behavior. So you can just understand what I'm trying to explain now, right? So just understand what I'm trying to explain here. So today what we're talking about is trend lines, right? Trend lines. That is our topic for today. Now, the first question is, what is a trend? Right, that's the first question. What is a trend? Now, trend is the behavior of price over time, right? So how price behave over time. So now, if you ask me what is now a trend line, now just use the concept of what I explained to be as a trend and use it to form what a trend line. So you can simply classify trend line as maybe you marking out um how would I even put it safe? Trend lines, right? So you drawing, let's use lines, you marking out points or marking out lines based on the behavior of price, right? Based on the trend. Either if it's in an uptrend, that means you marking out um your line, right? If it's a downtrend, you marking out your line. So marking those lines based on the behavior of price, right? So you're marking those lines based on the behavior of a based on the behavior of price over time. So now there are some things we'll be talking about. So these are the things to do using trend lines. So these are the things that you can use doing using trend lines. So let me also like that. So this is where our lectures begins from, right? So things to do using the trend lines or using trend lines, anyhow you choose to put it, right? So this is next thing, things to do using trend lines. Right. So the first one I'll be talking about. So let me just shift this over here. Right. So the first things we'll be talking about, because as it is, we have about like 7 or 8 of them. So let's see how far we can cover. So I'll just try to be fast. So the first one is called the first one is identifying. Identify, identify trend. That's the first thing you need to do using trend line, right? So if you are using trend line, the first thing you need to do is to identify the trend, right? Identify the trend. Now, I don't know, let me list them so that I think it will be fast. Then the next thing to do is for you to adjust trend lines so I can explain all of them easily and then create new ones. See, I'll create new ones. So the third one will be you using trend lines for trend or trend line breakout, right? So these are the things you can do breakout. These are the things that you can, and these are the things you can do. The fourth one will be let's say connecting the tops slash or bottom, right? Bottom of a price. So then the fifth one I'm talking about is using trend lines, so trend lines for profit targets, right? I may not really cover all of them, right? So let's say the second one it will have like maybe A and B, but let's say shall with combine it with price action, right? So seven can say using sorry, or is it combine or using supply and demand. Why the eight would be maybe using trend lines for trend breakout, right? So you can also use trend line for or to look at first breakout in the market, right? So in case I'm not able to cover all this, right? In case I'm not able to cover it, at least you have an idea. So this price action here, this one I say combine it with price action. Now price action is just simple, right? If you start the meaning of price action, or if I'm to explain the meaning of price action, price action just refers to the practice of buying and selling like the way we are trading like this, right? Buying and selling of securities or commodities. That's just what um this thing is price action. So it's just you buying and selling of securities or commodities or currencies, right? Based on fluctuation, right? Based on the fluctuation of those prices. So I talked about interest rate. Like if the interest rate or something is high, there's price will fluctuate, or the interest rate is going to fluctuate, right? So this is what price action is. It's just the buying and selling of currency, security. Like what I mean by security, I'm just trying to combine it. It can be stocks, it can be crypto, it can be currency pair, it can be stocks, it can be bonds, it can be anything, right? So you just buying and selling based on price fluctuation or based on fluctuation of price, right? Based on fluctuation of those prices. So that's just what price action is anyway. So the first thing here under the things to do using trend line is one. The first one is to identify the trend, right? So you need to identify the trend. Now, I've talked about trend, right? I've talked about trend. That's where I talked about market analysis, and I say it's divided into two: the trending market and the ranging market, right? So if you are drawing trend lines, always draw your trend line based on the trend, right? So either an uptrend or a downtrend. Right? This is how we identify. Because the first thing you need to do is you need to identify your trend. So when they say identify your trend, meaning they are looking for a trend that is either uptrend or downtrend, right? So that's how you draw your trend line. So you need to identify the trend. Is the trend in an uptrend or is it in a downtrend, right? So let's see. So let me just go back and then so just have these things just keep aware of these things that I've said, right? So now the first one I said is identify the trend. Now, when the market is going up, right, it's obvious that we are in or is it we are in an uptrend, right? It's obvious when the market is going up, right? It's obvious that we are in an uptrend, right? And if the market breaks the trend line and starts to trend down, that means we are in a downtrend. So let me explain what I just said now. Now, if you look at using this trade, using this current this thing happening here, right? So let's just see how fast we can be. Now, if you look at this at currently, sorry, or let me just delete this so that I can explain. Now, if you look at what is currently happening here, I've already showed how to mark out how to pick your trend line 2 as your favorite. So if you check my previous video on how to select your tools, you will see how I selected my tool to be trend line. So you can see my trend line here. Now, as I said, the first thing is to identify the trend, right? Identify the trend of the market. And I said, when the market is going up, it's obvious that, of course, it's in an uptrend because market is going up. And if market is going down, it's obvious that the market is now in a downtrend. Now, if you look at this chart, what is happening here or what happened here is that market was in an uptrend, right? was in an uptrend, creating series of higher highs and higher low. Now, what you need to do is identify the trend. That's the first question. Identify the trend. Now, what you need to do is to pick your trend line tool and connect, right? So this is me, for instance, now connecting these points together. So you can either connect the wicks or the candlestick body, but just look at how I connect this, right? So that you'll be able to understand. So let me zoom it out again, right? So you can see the way I connected this. So let's say this was where, now let's say this was where the price is, right? At this point now. So now price is at, let's say price is here. And now what I did here was to connect the points together, right? It's to connect the points. So you can see I now picked my trend line tool and from I connected it from here. You can see I connected it down to this point here, right? So what I said about this identify a trend is that when the market is going off, obviously you know that the market is in an uptrend. But when the trend line is broken, it's clearly showing you that this might change to a downtrend, right? This might change to a downtrend. So you can see this was the trend line I drew here, right? And when I do it at this point, right, so you can do it like this as well, right? As long as you have at least three touches, at least three, right? At least three touches, right, for it to be more valid. You hear some people say two touches, you hear some people say depending, but me, I'm saying at least you should have at least three touches, right? The trend line should have at least three touches. So you're connecting the points together, right? So most people say you can connect the body, or most people say they connect the wicks. It just depends on you, right? But me, I connect any, as long as I see it's giving me a very good trend, I connect it. Whatever is touching, it doesn't really matter to me. So if I'm to do like this, for instance, right? If I'm to do like this, now you can see that this was my first touch point, second touch point, third touch point, right? And then this happened here. Or I can also do like this, right? I can do something like this as well, right? So you can see now it didn't really touch it, but it still followed the trend. Because if you look at where I draw this trend line, showing that, yeah, this is also in an uptrend, right? So you can see it's first touch point, second touch point, third, fourth, right? And then here, next thing that happened here. So now the second things you need to do using trend lines, right? The second thing is to adjust trend line and create new ones. Now, let's say was my trend line, right? And okay, this I showed you for an uptrend. Now, before I show you, I go to number two. Let me show you for a downtrend how you connect trend line for a downtrend, right? Let me show you how we do that. Now, okay, let's say this was the trade I took some years ago. So you can see this was what I did here, right? So I saw the market was creating this and I dropped my trend line. So this was the trend line that I dropped, right? So I just connected the highs so you can see I picked it from here to connect here. So you can see it had at least like three or more than three touches, right? So just need to adjust it here. So you can see it had more than at least one, two, three touches. So this is how you connect your trend line. So if it's in a downtrend, you connect it from the top, right? Connect the highs. That means if market is in a downtrend, you're connecting the highs. If it's in an uptrend, you connect the lows. So let's give an example of that. So let me just do it in normal chart, and then I'm going to show you it here. So let's say this is in an uptrend, right? Market is creating series of higher highs and higher low. So if you clearly this is in an uptrend, right? So and for a downtrend, market creating series of lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and lower low. So when you're connecting trend line for an uptrend, right? This is an uptrend. So what you need to do, this is how you connect it, right? This is how you connect it. So you can actually do like this, but it's touching inside. So you can do something like this. So this is me connecting my trend line. So this is how you connect trend line for an uptrend market. Why for a downtrend market, you just need to look for the point where you can connect at least three touches, right? So this is me, at least three touches. So you can see this is me connecting for a downtrend. So just have this concept in mind, right? Connecting trend line for an uptrend and downtrend. So let's move fast, guys. So now the second this thing I said there, second things to do using trend line is to adjust trend lines and create new ones, right? So you adjust trend lines and create new ones. So let's give an example using this one. So if initially, let's say price was at this point here, right? Maybe say price at, so what, let me move this first. Now, let's say this was where price was at, right? And then you want to draw your trend line to see the clear, to like have a visual clear clarity of what trend is, what is currently going on. So you can do something like this, right? So when you draw this now, you can see, okay, maybe you have like 3 touch points here, right? At least 3 touch points here. And market is still going in an uptrend. Now, what I said is adjust trend and create new ones. Now, when you see something like this, what you can now do again, because now clearly what is going on here, right? So, like clearly what is going on here is that, okay, market has come here, right? But now it seems like this one is about to break this trend line. And whenever a trend line is broken, it's giving you this signal that there is possibility that it might start going downtrend, right? So now when you see something like this, so what you now can do here now is to adjust the trend line based on what is happening in the market, right? Adjust the trend line based on what is happening in the market. So what I can also do here is to carry my trend line to and try to connect points again together, right? Try to connect points again. So you can see I just pick my trend line and then adjust it again. So I will create new ones. I say adjust or create new ones. So in case I don't adjust this one, I can just simply leave this one and create a new trend line, right? And create a new trend line. So I'm trying to do it based on what is happening here. So you can see I created a new one again for me, connecting this point. We still have about 3 touch points, which is one here. Here you touch it two, but still went up in price. Here we have three, here we have four, right? So this is the second this thing. So the second one, which is adjust trend line and create new ones. Now, if the market keeps going up, right? So if the market keeps going, that's when you are able to now adjust your trend line, connecting the lows together. Because if you look here, price was still going up, right? The first trend line I created here, price was still going up, and then I still created another one again to connect the points to show that okay, price is still going up. But there's something that actually happened here. Now, the third one we're talking about is called trend line breakout, right? Trend line breakout. Now, this way I'll talk about the third one. Now, trend line breakout, when a market, right, when a market breaks a trend line to the downside, it will go up to test that level. Now, hear what I'm saying, right? This for the third one, trend line breakout, right? So things to do using trend line. The third one is trend line breakout. Now, for a trend line breakout, when a market breaks a trend line to the downside, right? So when a market breaks a trend line to the downside, note it will go up to test that level. It will go up to test that level, right? So if the market didn't make a new high, right? If the market didn't make a new high, there is a very high possibility for you to enter a sell to the downside. To the downside. Now let me explain what this means. Now you can see this trend here is in an uptrend because market was creating series of higher highs and higher low, right? So you can see this was the last high that market created, right? So this was the last high that market created, and I said, and this was the last low, right? This was the last low, or the last low for this um high, right? So this was the last high, this was the last low before market broke this low. Because if you can see, this was where this was where the market, the low, like our low here, this was our low, and then this price came down and broke it, right? It broke this level. So this was our last low, this was our last high. So, and I said for trend line breakout, when a market breaks a trend line to the downside, it will go up to test that level, right? Or to test that point. Now, if the market didn't make a new high, there's high possibility that the market will change to a downside. Now, this was our last high. Now, this was the last low, right? But when market came here, right, it broke this trend line that we do. You can see this trend line here, it was broken, right? Whenever the trend line is broken, it goes up to retest that level. Now, this is what price did. You can see it went back up here. It might not really go to here. It might not go to at least come to a level, a particular point, and then you can see it came to this point, retested this level, and then started heading back down. Now you can see the market changed to a downside. Now it's now creating series of lower highs and lower low, lower high. You can see lower low, lower highs. So you can see now this is what I mean by that, right? So this is what I mean by that. So whenever, so the third one is the third things to do using trend lines to identify trend line breakout. So whenever a trend is being broken, right, and did not create a new high, right, guys, hear what I say, and did not create a new high. So when it see this is a trend line, right? This was when the trend line broke, right? So let me zoom it again. This was where our trend line broke. So it broke this trend line, and then when it broke it went up to test that level and then started going back down. So this is clearly telling that okay, this is going to go down. It has break this, it has given us a trend line breakout. So we should stop looking for a buy, we should start looking for a sell, right? So as simple as that. So So now one thing you should also note about this trend line breakout is that now just keep this as a key note. Now whenever a market breaks a trend line, the best thing to do is to wait, right? The best thing to do just wait first. Now wait for a pullback, right? Wait for a pullback or a retest, right? Of that breakout before you enter the market, right? So as I said here, just the keynote is always wait for a pullback or a retest of that breakout. So this was our trend line here. This was when trend line broke it. Now when it broke it, it pulled back. Right? This was the pullback that happened here. So let me use this. This was the pullback that happened, right? So this was the pullback that happened. So price actually pulled back before heading back down, right? So always wait for a pullback. Don't just enter because the trend line is break. So just because you see this, oh, this trend line has broken, right? Meaning that price will start selling. Then you enter for you will now short the price from here. You're going to hit stop loss. If you put your stop loss here, you're going to hit stop loss, and price will still go in your direction. You can see price will still go in your direction. You just hit stop loss. So always wait for a pullback, right? Always wait for a pullback. So you can see when the market broke this trend line, it went up. Wait for a pullback or a retest of that level. You can see it pull back to this point and then started going back down. So this can be a simple switch trade for you to take and then make your money. So the fourth one I'm talking about is connecting the tops and bottom of price, right? Connecting, I've just explained it here. I've explained it when I was doing my trend line. I was connecting the bottom, which if it's in an uptrend, and also the top, which is from the, like if I'm connecting the, so if this is an uptrend, right? So me connecting the bottom, right? This is what I just leave me there. Connecting bottom, and then price in a downtrend. I explained this already, right? So connecting the highs, right? Right. So it's as simple as that. Is just what I mean by connecting the tops and bottom, right? So another thing again about this top and bottom. So let me just say some a little thing about this top and bottom. Now you can actually connect now for an uptrend market, right? You can actually connect the highs and also the lows of that this thing. So if you can see what I do here when I say this market is going up, right? So let me show you something here. So let's say market does something like this. Plus, right? So now this is an uptrend, right? So what if you are connecting the lows of this uptrend, right? Something like this, right? If you are connecting something like this, now, as I said, connecting the tops and bottom, you can actually connect even both in an uptrend and also in a downtrend. So you can also do something like this, right? You can do something like this. Though here I know it's showing that it's two touch, right? But sometimes you just need to, right? If you go to the lower time frame, you can connect at least three touches here, right? On the lower time frame. So I'm just giving an example. So this will connecting the highs now. This is an uptrend, right? So we have connected the lows. You can also connect the highs too, right? So as I said here, connecting the top and bottom of price. So you can connect the top and the bottom as well, right? But this is when you connect this, you're creating something we call channel. I'm going to explain that later or in a few listings. So now let me write something. I'm just going to say it. So if you watch the video, you're going to understand what I say. When we want a market that will look like this, right? Like what I just explained now, right? So if it's going down, for instance, we can connect the wicks or the body. I already explained that, connect the wicks or the body. So just whichever one. So now what I just explained here, now let me show you here. So you can see this market is in an uptrend here, right? And I connected this point. So what I can likely do, let's say if the price was around this point, right, around this point. So let's say price is here. So what I can do here is to connect something, do something like this, right? I can do something like this. So you can see I also connected these points together, right? So you can see how I connected it here. So this is what I mean by connecting top. So you can also do this for an uptrend as well. So you can see when it's I connected like this, price pushed up and continue going up. So if you are trading, you can just do after this breakout. If you don't want to wait for a pullback, right? Because see, after this breakout, the pullback anyway still happen, right? So if you don't enter maybe for here around this point, put your stop loss a little bit above here, your entry should be here, and the target 1:2, or target the high of this, right? And then boom, they have just take profit, or you can just anyway, I'm going to talk about. So this is what I mean also by connecting the tops. Now, the fourth one or the fifth one is using trend line for profit target, right? So using trend line for profit target. Let's see. So let me use this one. Using trend line for profit target. So if I was to do something, let's see how I can. Okay, still the same. This same something I explained here, right? Using trend line for profit target. Uh, So let's say after this breakout that happened here, or if we are going to use this channel, now this is more like a channel. So let me explain what a channel is. Now when you see price doing something like this, right? So let's just use example exactly what's happened here. Now let's say you see something like this, and then at some point price did something like this, did something like this, something like this, did something like this, and then continue going up like this. So now you can actually do this. Now when you so let's say for marking your trend line, right? I'm trying to show you what channel is anyways, but so if you are doing something like this, what you can do on channel is to just take your trend line to and connect the highs of it like this. So when you connect it now, right? So and price pull back, right? So what you can do when you're taking your trade now for there's something called what we call aggressive entry on trades. Like if you are aggressive, there are some people that are conservative. A conservative trader is one who always waits for a pullback or a retest of a level before he enters. So if there is a breakout, like this, for instance, now the way you connected this highs here now, right? And then this market breakout, there are aggressive traders. The moment they see that this market will likely break this trend line, what they'll just enter it immediately before the breakout even happen, put their stop loss below and then sorry, put their stop loss below and target the high of the this last high, and you can see by the boom make their profit. This for an aggressive trader. Now for a conservative trader will always want to wait for a pullback, right? Because it's not aggressive, it's trying to wait for a pullback. So if you are waiting for a pullback, can just be here and then wait for a pullback. If you have your confirmation, and then you can place your entry after that pullback, right? And then you can just also make your quick box as well. Either you target 1:2 and boom, you're out of the trade, or if you want to take your trade maybe to this high, right? Or this high as well, you have still made your profits. So that's just what I really mean by that. So then the next one is combine it with price action. Now, price action is just simple, right? Price action is just simple. Just same thing like support and resistance. So okay, after right support and demand. So just like using support and resistance as well. So let's see if we can. So now just look at what happened here, right? Let me see. I'm trying to look for a very good trade that can combine it with price action. Okay. Now let's use this example here. Right, let's use this example here. Now, if you were drawing this trend line, so let's say we connected our trend line, something like this, right? And let's say the price was still, so now this was a, this is this is a support level, right? Because it was a resistance level initially, but market broke it, came back. So here is the support level, right? Now this support level, now here is the support. Anytime price comes a push back. So the next time price came here, price broke this support level, right? So let me see if I can. just make everything all right. So now uh, price broke this support level, right? So let me just hide all this. So this was a level, right? This was our support level, right? Because price now is above. So, but when price came down, it broke this support level, change making here to be a resistance level. Now, what you can simply do is to mark out your trend line, right? So mark out your trend line. So this is what I just did now. I marked out my trend line. So now what you need to do is to now, since here what that was initially a support level has now changed to a resistance level because price have broken this support level and now it came here to tap this resistance level. So you can see this was where price came here, right? After it broke went up to test this level. Now, what you can really simply do with this support and resistance and trend line is to wait for now price to come back, at least tap your trend line, you can see, which is also your support, your resistance level now. So this is our resistance level here, right? And this is our trend line that we connected. So you can see price, right? Price after it broke, so this was where it broke, right? It broke the support level and now changes to resistance because price went up, pull back down, went up to the resistance level, pull back down again. Now you now draw your trend line out. Now you can see price still went up to the resistance level, and resistance level, your trend line is also there, right? It also came here, it went down, came here again, touching your resistance, your trend line again. So you can see your trend line is also acting more like a support, more like a resistance level as well. But you know that you still have another resistance level, came back down and still went up again, but though it did not tap it here. So you can see, right? You can see they came back, then continue going back down. So this is just an example of this combined trend with support and resistance. So same thing with supply and demand, right? Same thing. So let's see if we can check GJ. I think there should be a trade like that. Right, there should be a trade on GJ. So now, if you are connecting uh, your same thing, right? Same thing. So if you are connecting your points together, so this a demand zone. Now I'm talking about connecting or using support and supply and demand. Talk about support and resistance. Now this is using support and resistance. I'm just trying to be fast so that we can catch up. Right. So now this for supply and demand, right? So this was a demand level, right? So we just have like 10 minutes. So here is a demand level, right? Because you can see this aggressive move. Price came here to tap this level. So what you can also do with trend line is when you see a trend line and demand zone line up together in the market, saying that there's can be a lot of move, right? There can be a lot of move. So you can do something here like this. Let's see if I can go down to the 5 minutes. So if I should do something like this. Now, at the same time I explain, you can just pick your trend line to, right, connect these points together, right? So you can see we actually connected this, right? So you hear some people say, oh, they draw their trend line to based on using the body, right? Some say using the beak. Doesn't really matter. I just do it based on what I'm seeing. That's just what I do. So when you connect it. Now, this when we connected our trend line here, right? So you can also do something like this. If that's what I showed you earlier. I can like connect, either you connect here, right? So for an aggressive trader, I told you if you are aggressive and you saw that, yeah, I believe you sure that this market wants to go, can enter the table. This is not really good for beginners. So now this means connecting my this thing. And now here at this point, you can see this aggressive move that happened. Now let's go down to the 15 minutes, right? So this was an aggressive, this way we connected our trend line. You can see we connected our trend line, and then this was an aggressive move. So this was this is a demand zone, right? Because after we connected our level, this move happened, right? So you can see the supply and demand, the trend line are lining up at the same place, right? Or around the same place. So this telling you that okay, there can be a lot of this. This can be a very high probability trade. Now all you just need to do for a conservative trader based on your supply and demand concept. You always wait for price to come back to that level, right? And your trend line is also there. You can just wait for price to retest that level and then you enter. This is just like a rough explanation of what I mean. I can also do something like this. Right? I can also do something like this, just draw my trend line like this and use my trend line to also trade. right? So I can use my trend line to trade. So what I can do is, after I've drawn this trend line, I'll now wait for my price to come back to this trend line, right? Wait for my price to come back to this trend line here, and then I can jump in the trade. And here also is actually resistance level, because if you look at this point, so let me draw this line here. So this is also a resistance level. Now let me use our rectangle too. Though I'm used to using just rectangle vertical line. So here is also a resistance level, right? So you can see this touch point. So here is a resistance level. And now this is my trend line that I do. So you can see my trend line is lining up with my support and resistance here. So you can see I do my my trend line, and this is a resistance level up here. Price came here, tap my resistance level, and also even tap my trend line, which a potential good trade for it to enter for a buy. And you can see there's also a morning star here. Right, so these are about three confirmations. So you just need to do place your trade, put your trade on below the last candle, and just target 1:2, and boom, you hit your right. So you just wait after this pullback, right? So you enter 1:2, or let's see if we're going to go 1:2 directly. So you can see 1:2, you fit your take profit and you're out of the trade. So it's as simple as that, guys. Right? It's as simple as that. So I think the next one is force breakout. Now price can actually break out and they keep on going up or keep on going down. So let me look for an example. That's what we call force breakout. So let's see if we can look for his example. Now, okay, now let's use this. Now, if I'm drawing my trend line, so you can see I connected my trend line like this, right? So now the last one I'm talking about is force breakout, right? Force breakout. And this is mostly when there is aggressive buying or aggressive selling in the market. Right? You can see this force breakout when there's aggressive buying and aggressive. So this is just what force breakout is. Now you can see this mid, I draw my trend line, right? So you can see price broke this trend line. Now a lot of people will start selling, right? Oh, because our price have broke it. In fact, price went to retest it. Yeah, price went to retest it, and you can enter for a say 1 to 2. You actually make money, but no, it doesn't really work all the time. Most of the time, it will break and then just pull back. Like most of the time, you see something like this, right? When the moment price breaks it, it will continue going up. You can see this a lot of times, guys. You can see this, price continue going up, right? Price can continue going. So these are what we call false breakers, because price actually broke in like this, right? Broke in and went up and continued going up, right? So it also happened here, but here it didn't really, it took time before it continued going up, because even price came down very well and they started pulling up, right? So this one it even give more time safe. But some other thing, like when you connect it to do a false breaker, break it, right? Break that trade and this and continue going up in that direction, right? So that's a false breakout. When market breaks a trend line, either uptrend or downtrend, and then continue going in that direction, right? That's what is false breakout. But here it also happened there, but either ways here it took time, right? It took time because market came down. Actually, it came down after it tested this level, because this was the breakout. Went to retest level, came down. Went to retest that level, it came down. So this was actually a good thing. So you could enter for a sale and still make profit. Anyway, I shall hit stop loss for here. This was my stop loss. I hit stop loss. So no, it is what it is, bro. So, and then you can see market started going back up again, right? Market started going up. So this is just what it is. And I've also explained that sometimes when you see a trend line breakout, you just wait for a test or pullback. You can see here, this was a trend line breakout, wait for a pullback. This was our pullback here, right? This was our pullback, and then we jump into the trade for a set. So you just need to have multiple confirmation, right? Have more confirmation to your trade. Don't just focus on one. You need to have different confirmation for when you're entering your trade. Don't just focus on okay, one setup, one trade. This is just one thing. No, have multiple confirmation when taking trades. Right? It's very good. Have multiple confirmation when taking trades. So this is just where we're stopping today. You just have like 3 minutes to the end of this class. So you can really watch the video, um just try to practice. I know you might not understand some things, but just watch it over again. Just try it, right? So when you're trying this in the market, you don't just watch video. Yeah, aside from you writing, jotting down, drawing everything, that you need to see this thing on charts, right? You need to see and I've already explained. I already have a video on how to use trading view, right? So go on chart. Though I've not taught yet how to switch between time frame. So I think tomorrow we'll be doing that one. Tomorrow, from tomorrow, I think I want to do a revision first. I want to do a revision first, then add some, chip in some one or two things. Then I want to teach how to trade with everything I've taught you. So when you are done with this, then we can now go to the main strategy where I'm going to teach you the strategy. All these are just the concept that you just need to have at the back of your mind. Right? It's not what we are going to be using to trade, but most of them are things we need. Right? Well, even in the strategy I'm teaching you, you need most of these things that I'm teaching you. Like this trend line, you need it. Equal highs, chart patterns, all those things. You need all those things, right? Supply and demand, support and resistance. You need all those things in this time. So I'm just giving so that you have it in mind, have that concept in mind, right, guys? I say you need to practice. It's practice that brings perfection. Don't just focus on, okay, I'm learning, I'm watching video. No, aside from the video, you need to practice. You need to see it by yourself. Go on your chart, go on your trading view, right? Go and try to analyze, try to use what you have learned, right? What you have got to your mind, try to apply it on the chat. If you are having issue or you're not understanding something, you can ask me, right? Either send it to the group, or if ways of for my YouTube people, you can just put it in the comment section. I will check it. If something I can reply and I'll respond to you, right? So practice as much as possible. Practice as much as possible, right? Go on your charts, everything I've taught you, try to identify them. Just try to see them in the market and see what happened after they form, right? And always, at least have to 2 to 3 confirmation before entering any trade. At least, even if not possible, three should be even the least. Right? Just have different confirmation for you to enter a trade. You must not place the trade, right? You must not place the trade on your MT5 or MT4, right? You must just analyze it, see what is happening. When you see, okay, I've seen this pattern, I've seen this. Okay, what later happened? Oh, so now you have not have that at the back of your mind. You cannot even draw it now on your book or anything, right? Okay, I saw price was in an uptrend and I saw it came back to my resistance level, which is here. Resistance was broken, came back to the support level, which is here. And now it gave me a reaction, some candlestick pattern, rejection candlestick, and some other things. Okay, this was what made me enter the trade, and I entered for a buy. And I saw that it continued going up. So if I had entered here, I would have just made times 2 of my money and out of the trade. So like practice this and try it over and over again, right? So that's where we're stopping up for today. So this will be like part 17 of the video. This is my YouTube channel, guys. We are growing, we are still growing, right? We have 27 subscribers. I have posted at least like 30 videos. So you can watch this video. This will be part 17. So I have a lot of videos here you need to watch.